Hey YouTube land, Tycondrius here doing another action figure review. Now today we're having a look at the AMP suit from Avatar. This is the McFarlane version of the AMP suit, and this is the larger version of it. So if I just bring in the box here, you see the box is a fairly big window display box. In fact, if I just bring my tape measure in, the box is about 9 inches in width. It is 5.5 inches in depth, and it is 12 inches in height. So the machine in this is a fairly big machine. But we'll quickly have a look at the box before having a look at the suit itself. So I'm just going to move it off the side. You probably hear things falling around the place as it settles. But we'll have a look at the box. Now this is based on the first movie. This isn't one of the ones based on the new movie, which is Way of the Water. There is a suit coming out for that, and it has a different weapon as far as I'm aware. It's pretty much the same suit, just with different deco and different weapons. This one is intended to be the one from the first movie, or one of the ones that you see in the first movie. So you have the name of the figure here, which is AMP suit. I'm not sure what AMP stands for again. I honestly can't remember. It's one of the many vehicles that they used in the movie, the humans. And you have a black light glow for it, if you have a black light. Unfortunately, I don't. Some of the features that are on it, and then just shows an image of the suit and just some of the features that it has. Box is fairly standard. I will note that unlike some of the other McFarlane stuff, you can see them here in the corner. This thing is held in with actual zip ties, as opposed to the kind of wire with the plastic with the wire kind of going through it. So just beware, you might need a little bit stronger cutters to cut this thing out, or just unhook it. But once that is out, move the box aside, you're left with something that looks like this, which is pretty sweet. Now, one thing that's a bit of a disappointment on this is you don't get a pilot figure with it. Now, I do understand why you don't get a pilot figure. It's, well, marketing and stuff like that, you don't get a pilot figure. I just moved the arm up a slight bit out of the way. You can see this one is actually Miles Quattridge, Colonel Quattridge's personal one. Hence the 11 markings on it. Now, there is a Quattridge figure, which is in scale to this for it to fit in. Unfortunately, I do not have that figure, but I have the next best thing. This is the original Avatar. When was this made? Does it have a date stamp? I think Avatar is like nearly 11 years old, the first one, so it's going back quite a while. 2010, is it 2011? Going back that far? I can't remember. But this is the Mattel. Is it Mattel? Yes, I believe it was Mattel did these originally. So this is the Mattel figure for this line. It's done in a 3 3/4 inch scale. So if I just move my camera down a bit, you'll be able to see them in scale to that. And if I just bring in tape measure, if I push this back a touch more. Oop. Bear with me a moment. Just going to bring in tape measure. Can you actually see them? You can. So these figures came in shorter than 4 inches. These were 3 3/4 inch. So that's the way they made them. They're actually even small for 3 3/4 inch. They're actually nearly 3.5 inch. So they're actually smaller than the kind of average figure. Like these guys, this is one of the Eagle Force figures. You just need to see if I have one of the whatchamacallit figures handy. I do. Here is one of Mattel's more recent. You can see they're almost in scale with the Jurassic World stuff. So there is a slight like hair difference between them. This is the original Avatar figures are pretty much their first. I think it was their first inning into like 3 3/4 inch scale action figure lines. Everything else would have been like He-Man scale or anything like that before they did it. But that's beside the point. What we're looking at is this monstrosity, or this big thing. Now, it does come with a alternate hand. In fact, our alternate hand is the one that's in it at the moment. Straight out of the box, you get this grip hand for its dagger. I have the alternate hand on it. It's just it's supposed to simulate the two-handed pose, which is something the original figure was lacking. You can just see it's on a massive peg and just pegs into place. This thing is full of joints and stuff, but we'll go through that in a minute. We'll just open the cockpit first for the first kind of area that you can see. So the hinge is up here. There's quite a lot of detailing on the inside of it. As they say, it's black light responsive. So if you have a black light and you shine it over, it should kind of give a glow to it. Because I only have I have the original figure and I don't have the newer one. You just sit a little tiny in it. If I was to put someone like this guy from the Owen Grady figure, he sits a little bit better. And if I grab the space guy from the Major Draconis, he sits a lot nicer in the cockpit of this thing, and you can get them to sit in there no problem. So the light is probably shining on it, so you can get them to sit in it. But for now, we'll leave Miles in there. Colonel Quaritch, whichever way you want to pronounce his name, because he was the main guy that was in the main villain guy that was in this. So joints for this is you have a joint here at the shoulder, you have a ratcheting joint here, you have a single elbow joint with a ratchet and a swivel. The swivel is on a ratchet as well. Wrists rotate around. The gun can be taken out of the suit. It is a separate piece to the suit. It's just getting it in and out of the fingers are a little bit tricky. So the gun does come off. The magazine piece I do not think comes off the gun. Let me just double check. Yeah, I think that's glued in place. So even if you were to have him holding it down by his side, the magazine is still there. It is supposed to kind of just sit over the shoulder here like this. On the old Mattel one, which I will bring in a minute, you'll see there's a difference between the two of them. The gun itself is quite nicely detailed. It has the big bayonet on the front. It has like the big block. It doesn't have any of the warning stuff on it. I think on the other one that I have has a warnings of no lift on it. But you have the handle, the detailing is all quite nice. It looks pretty sweet, but we'll take that out of the way. It does have an additional accessory of this blade. Now, my one, unfortunately, came warped out of the box. It seems to be an issue with the blade. It's a very gummy plastic. If I bring in the blade from the original version I have, it is gummy plastic as well, but it's a lot more solid. So, like you can see the differences. The handle is hollowed out on the newer one. Blades are still the same. You have more paint apps on the blade for the original, and over the years the blade for my original one has still remained fairly straight, whereas this one straight from the box is a bit warped. And I think even with it in the holster, it probably won't straighten out too much, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, we just have to make do with it the way it is. So now, getting the, as I said, pilots into it isn't too bad. There's an additional arm mechanism up here for articulation. It's on a kind of a slider, so it does move. It doesn't rotate. It's supposed to rotate at this angle. And then, as I said, wrists are on swivel. There is waist articulation. Again, ratcheted. Leg is on a kind of weird ball joint. It's hard to see, but it is ball jointed, but it can ratchet forward and back, but it has in and out for the hip. The knees are quite tight on this guy. If I can get him to manipulate him. So the knee does bend. It should bend over 90 degrees, I'd imagine. It looks like it should bend more than this, but it is quite a tight fit. See if we can get it to manipulate all the way. Yeah, it goes all the way around, practically back to its knee. I don't want to break this thing because it's fairly new. So, and then the legs or the ankles are on a, there's no side to side, it's a Sunner ratchet forward and back as well. So there is some good posability on this if you have the guns. The feet I've always found are pretty weird on these things. They have these kind of big shovel-like things, and then they have like a very small heel. So sometimes they can be a little top heavy and they'll fall forwards or backwards. It's worse on the Mattel one because when they did get around to doing the ankles or the feet on the Mattel one, they actually put an additional articulation point on this, so it does tend to flop forward. So I suppose the best thing to do is get the comparisons out of the way, and we will bring in the original AMP suit from the Mattel line. So let me just get it into a more workable position. So bear with me a moment. So I do have the other soldier guy that they released as part of the line. So you can see the new one is actually way taller than the old one. So if I bring in my tape measure, the highest point is at the shoulders, so they stand around 10 inches at the shoulder part, whereas on the original, shoulders being the highest, it's about 8. So there's a 2-inch height difference between the two. Width wise, they're about the same. There's not much in the width. Detailing wise, the original still retains a good amount of detail, as does the new one. The new one has a few extra details. There's a bit more going on in the cockpit. They actually added this window wiper to the actual cockpit piece. The hands, all pretty much similar design. There's not much difference. If I open the cockpit of this one, like, you don't have the screen or any of the warning hazard lights. In fact, I just need to figure out. You can see it's a smaller suit, and it fits, like, it does fit the figures a bit better because they are smaller. But all the articulation, you still have pretty much all the same articulation. Sorry, I should show you that on screen. Pretty much all the same articulation that the McFarlane one has. This one has as well. As I said, with this one, it didn't have an alternate hand, so you can do a two-handed grasp. And the only other additional piece that's different is up here, where the magazine or the bullets for the gun go. It actually is glued into place up here. It still has the same spot, I think. Is it the same spot? Actually, it's down lower on the newer one, or on the old one. It's way down here by the hip. On the newer one, it's just up here where the magazine feeds into. And then, as I said, the original had this kind of annoying articulation point on the feet, so it does tend to drop forward a bit. It doesn't have the ball joint on the hip like the new one does. So there is some differences between the new and the old, most notably being the height. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video review, or this video review of the AMP suits from the new, well, the new McFarlane Avatar line, but not the new movie version of it. Paint apps as well. The old one still has this kind of mud kind of effect going on the legs, and weathering. The same can be said for this one. It does have the mud effects. It's a bit more pronounced on the newer one. Color wise, they're pretty much similar, the kind of dark base grays with coloring. And I'll just bring in the guns as well. The gun on the new one is way bigger, obviously because the suit is bigger, and you have a bit more stickers. You have that no lift and lift on the older one compared to the newer one, but more so often, or more than that, they're pretty much identical, except for a few minor details and height. That was really the only difference between the two. Price point wise, this one is a fairly pricey thing. Hopefully they might drop after Christmas, and I might be able to pick up one or two, or they might go on clearance. If they do, I'll probably pick a couple of up on clearance, but as they stand, they are pretty pricey. So there you go, guys. There's a look at the AMP suit from Avatar. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.